The AI story isn't all glitz and glamour and billion-dollar valuations as we see today. Hidden behind the headlines, taking over like a tsunami, today are stories of bold promises, spectacular failures, crushed dreams, long AI winters, and unexpected breakthroughs that changed everything.
Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Info Rush. I am Rudrakshi
I am Disha.
and welcome to our episode 3. AI is coming. I think this episode is one of those episodes where I felt a roller coaster of emotions and I even insisted Disha to let me take a lead on this
Yes, that's right.
because the field I work in and started my career is in AI. So until today we wrote this script, I didn't fully appreciate the wild, messy history behind the technology that literally pays my bills. So are you ready to go down the memory lane?
Yes, yes, definitely. I am sort of excited too.
Let's start with segment 1. So I've broken down into segments to make it easier. First segment is the golden summer, 1950s to 1970s. The logical brain. You're going back to the 1950s. The air is filled with post war optimism. During the same time, Alan Turing published a famous paper that asked a simple, dangerous question: can machines think? He proposed what we now call the Turing test. If a human talks to a machine and can reliably tell if it's a machine, then the machine looks intelligent. Turing didn't solve machine intelligence. There was no breakthrough machine that suddenly became human level, but the outcome was actually huge. He gave the world a concrete challenge and a way to talk about machine intelligence without arguing about complex definitions as we know
And
all day.
I think there was also a movie called The Imitation Game. I think it was based on Alan Turing.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Uh, but the term artificial intelligence wasn't coined until 1956 at a legendary workshop at Dartmouth College. John McCarthy, Marvin Minsky, and others gathered with the bold belief that intelligence was just symbols and logic. If you could teach a computer the rules of math and logic, so to simplify, if an event X happens, then event Y will happen, like basic if else kind of
Yes,
statements,
right.
then it would be smart, right? The outcome technically a success, but practically a failure. But this era, known as symbolic AI, was fascinating. They believed intelligence was just symbol manipulation. If you could just teach a computer enough rules of logic, it would become smart. They built programs that could prove math theorems and even play simple chess. It was the era of good old fashioned AI. And then the funding poured in. The government thought, great, now we'll have translation machines or the sci fi robots as we know in the movies by 1965. Now, coming to segment 2, I will name it as the winter is coming.
I think it's a GOT
Yes,
reference,
yes.
right? Uh,
So this was the era of 1970s and 1980s. By the 1970s, the gap between hype and reality was obvious. It turns out teaching a computer advanced math can be easier than teaching it to understand a children's story
wow.
or recognize a cat in a photo or even handle the fact that humans don't speak in perfect logic. This period became known as an AI winter, like as the GOT reference. The funding froze, optimism froze, the dark night may come, we don't know.
Sorry, just to interject. I have actually not watched Game of Thrones, so
Okay, never mind. So
yeah.
the outcome was simple, it wasn't progress. Uh, so AI became a word that people avoided in grant proposals. And even like people didn't want to fund when they heard about AI. But again, this didn't last forever. In the 1980s, a new approach emerged: expert systems. These were AI programs designed to mimic the decision making of human experts, like doctors or engineers. Companies like Xerox and IBM invested heavily. For a while, it seemed like AI was back. Then another crash. Expert systems were expensive, hard to maintain, and couldn't adapt to new situations. By the 1980s, the second AI winter set in. Investors walked away, and AI became a dirty word in Silicon Valley.
Wow. Wow, I can't believe that people feared the word AI in a way pretty opposite to what it is
Yeah,
today. And funding had stopped at some at a point. Unlike today, where there seems to be an unlimited supply of money finding AI startups.
true, like $1 billion valuations and what
Exactly.
not.
Some which don't even make sense.
True. But there is a silver lining to all of this. The researchers did not stop. To keep the work alive, researchers often used a less flashy name: machine learning, because AI sounded like a promise that had already been broken. Segment 3: Eyes, Ears, and a Neural Revolution. This was during the period of 1990s to I think 2010s. We were born. So, underground, a different approach was gaining power. Instead of programming intelligence as rules, researchers pushed neural networks, as you explained in the last episode.
Yes.
Systems inspired loosely by the brain, designed to learn patterns from data. For years, this didn't fully work. Not because the idea was wrong, but because the world just wasn't ready. You need two things to make modern machine learning explode: a lot of data and a lot of compute, and a field coupled by cloud also somewhere. Then the internet arrived, and graphic chips, the GPUs, became widely available, and something amazing happened. AI started to gain its first truly useful sense. In the year 1997, IBM's Deep Blue defeats Gary Kasparov at chess.
Yes, that was a huge thing. I remember reading about this.
Yeah, Deep Blue was a milestone, but also a lesson. It didn't think like human. It calculated brutally well. The outcome was clear. Machines could beat humans in narrow domains without being generally intelligent. In 2012, AI got eyes. A system called AlexNet crushed the competition at recognizing images. Suddenly, the computers could tell the difference between a cat and a dog, and computer vision, as we call it today, was born. AI could finally see. Then in 2016, Google's AlphaGo, back then DeepMind, defeated Lee Sedol at Go. That was different. So, Go is too complex for pure brute force. AlphaGo combined deep learning with reinforcement learning. So, reinforcement learning is basically learning and getting feedback and then improving.
Okay.
So, in game 2, it played the famous move 37. That move was so strange that people thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't.
Wow.
It was a new kind of machine creativity, alien but effective. So effective that it helped win the
So it
game.
was a completely different move.
People thought it was stupid.
Oh,
So yeah,
wow.
AI got instincts. So I have a quick recommendation. Do watch AlphaGo on YouTube by Google DeepMind. It's on their channel. It's the journey of the team behind Google DeepMind. and how it beat Lee Sedol. I mean, I was rooting for Lee Sedol because he's a human, but also I knew AI would win somewhere. Anyways, then AI got ears. Speech recognition improved rapidly. Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa entered our homes. The machines could now hear us and transcribe what we said. That was the turning point. We moved from the machines that just did math to machines that could perceive the world. So we had the brain, the eyes, and the ears. But there was still one thing missing. The machine could listen and see, but it couldn't really create. Then came the 2017 research paper called Attention is All You Need. It is a very famous paper in the tech world, in the world of AI. And this was Google introducing a new architecture, laying the foundation for what we call transformers. So this is no, not the movie one, not even the electric voltage one, although the name sounds same. But this is the one where the T from the chat GPT derives its name from.
Oh.
And oh boy, it has stood up to its name. It literally transformed the world.
And to be very honest, we all use Chat GPT to a huge extent in our lives, and it's today that I came to know that T is the transformer.
So I'll
Wow.
just give you a brief of what the transformer here in this case means. So when we talked about the layers and the neural network part of
Yes.
it, so there are two parts to it, an encoding layer and the decoding layer. So machines don't
Okay.
understand English. So
Right.
you convert it to the language like numbers and what we call as tensors
Hmm.
is what we call the encoding layer. So you encode those into the machine learning, like the machine
Hmm. Hmm.
understandable language.
Yes.
And decoder is where you convert it back to human readable language. So it does the computation as you explained. The brain part of it does the computation. And the final output that you get is the decoded output. So this is
Okay.
just a brief overview. I'm not going into too much detail of it.
Yes.
But this
Yes.
is basically what that paper briefly explained. There were a lot of things, right, like the weights, how it is
Huh. Yes.
given
Right.
more attention to other words, but I think it's too technical, so we'll just close it
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Now, coming to segment 4, Millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, actually, is Gen AI. The era where the world found its new addiction. ChatGPT, Nano Banana, Midjourney, Claude, DeepSeek. I think there are too many
Too
names, I should just
many.
stop. So, AI wasn't just about logic, mimicking. It was now about generating texts, codes, images, and slowly it was no longer just a machine. It became a friend, colleague, teacher, interviewer, and what not. And the world went from is machine intelligent to is machine too intelligent.
Right. Exactly. So I think here we are from Turing's question in 1950 to AI that can pass bar exams and write screenplays. And this reminds me of the recent news that it could clear the CFA exam.
Oh my god,
So it
wow.
took 70 years, AI winters, countless dead ends, and the combined work of thousands of researchers. What strikes me most about this journey is how wrong people were about the timeline, but how right they were about the destination. The early pioneers believed AI would transform society, and it is just decades later than they expected and in ways they never fully imagined. The big question now isn't whether AI will change our world. It's already doing that. The question is how we guide that change, what values we build into these systems, and how we ensure that this technology benefits everyone.
Absolutely right and very well put. Now that we have this brain, this voice, and these eyes and ears, how did it go from a tech concept to something everyone's talking about and even using every single day? And I feel none of us are like away from that technology, like be it a kid or even grandparents to everyone. Everyone is being affected
Yes.
by AI today. So stay tuned as we reveal how AI became a personal assistant we can't imagine a life without. This is Info Rush. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and log out smarter. And do not forget to follow us on wherever you get your podcasts from.
New episodes dropping every Sunday.